Follow the light is the golden advice in photography. On sunny days, those harsh shadows, dramatic backlighting, and contrast does most of the work. But what happens when that light vanishes behind gray clouds? That visual punch disappears. So we end up staying at home because we think great photos can't be had on an overcast day. But we can't only go out when the conditions are perfect. Sometimes we only get to shoot on a rare occasion and that day happens to be gray. So in this video, I'm sharing tips and tricks so you can shoot stunning photos even in the most boring light. First, look for vibrant colors and subtle contrast. On overcast days, colors matter more than ever. Unlike sunny days where intense light can overpower bold tones, cloudy conditions let colors shine. They appear richer, cleaner, and more deliberate. Seek out these vibrant elements because a single pop of color can carry the entire frame. It draws the viewers in and gives their eyes something to hold on to. It can be people holding colorful umbrellas, wearing colorful clothes, or other elements that make up your composition. But don't stop at bold colors. Pay attention to subtle contrast too. Just because the light is soft doesn't mean the scene lacks drama. You just have to look for it in different places. If you are indoors, it tends to be much darker than outside. So a person from indoors walking outside can create contrast and a compelling silhouetted shot. A person looking out the window can create a similar effect while nicely framing them. A figure in dark clothing walking into a pale wall can make them stand out as well. If you have a chance to shoot against the gray sky, it will really single out your subject. These moments create quiet cinematic contrast. They hint at emotion and add mood. So you have to look to build contrast through framing, tones, and timing. Even with gray skies, there are color and contrast that can make your visual stronger. Next, get creative. That consistent light gives you a forgiving backdrop to try new ideas without worrying about distracting contrast or blown out highlights. So push your creative boundaries and have fun. Try slow shutter photography, a method that captures motion in a single frame. Drop the shutter speed to 1/15th of a second. If you have an ND filter, you can go even slower. Let movement become part of the image. It turns ordinary scenes into something expressive, almost painterly. There are 3 ways to try slow shutter photography. First, there is panning. You follow a moving subject while your shutter is open. This keeps your subject relatively sharp while the background blurs in long streaks. Then there is staying still. This is where your subject remains stationary while the world moves around them. Your camera stays fixed and moving elements like people or cars become blurs. It creates a beautiful contrast between stillness and motion. Lastly, there is intentional camera movement. Instead of tracking a subject or holding still, you move your camera during the exposure. As a result, the entire image becomes abstract. This approach can make photos feel more like paintings than photography. Another technique to try is compressing the scene with a longer focal length. On overcast days, that soft background becomes more subtle and dreamlike. The compression lets you focus on details, making it obvious what you're trying to say with your photos. Plus, unlike with wider lenses, it is much more obvious who you are focusing on. Wider lenses tend to have most things in focus, so you really need a strong subject to have them stand out. On the other hand, even a 50mm, which is not really considered a longer focal length, has the strength to focus on your subject and blur everything else out. This way, it is much easier to guide the viewer's eyes. Next, embrace the atmosphere. Cloudy days are your chance to become more of a storyteller. You have to look to capturing those quiet, candid moments that carry emotional weight. Because there's no harsh contrast of light and shadow stealing the show, it lets the moment breathe. So pick a promising scene and give it time to unfold, and capture moments that mean something. Cloudy days come with a built-in vibe. Moody, mysterious, with a hint of melancholy. This sets a tone that sunny days can't match. Lean into this atmosphere and let it shape your shot. It will turn your frame into a cinematic scene. Sunny days usually sets the mood of happiness, while overcast days can present the mood of everything in between. so you have chances to tell more diverse stories. You can also look for elements that amplify the atmosphere. If it's been raining, look for reflections in puddles or wet pavement, and people with umbrellas. If there's fog or mist, even better. That soft haze wraps everything in mystery, softening backgrounds and making subjects pop. Next, composition. With a lack of dramatic light, our composition game has to step up. When there's strong sunlight, composition can take a back seat. But on cloudy days, it is up to us to create depth and interest through deliberate framing. Look for natural frames to add depth and draw the eye. An archway can wrap around your subject. A window can reflect one moment while revealing another. Even tree branches can create borders that add context. Use these elements to guide your viewer's attention and add layers to the scene. Filling the frame is another powerful technique. Getting close to your subject to eliminate empty space and emphasize the moment. You can add a foreground layer to build visual interest as well. Play with reflections too. Puddles, windows, and mirrors are great tools to use to frame your subjects. On sunny days, these shots can be tricky because our eyes are drawn to the brightest part of the frame, and our subjects are not always in the sunlight. It is easier to try these techniques on overcast days. Use the predictability of the light to your advantage. Next, try black and white. Some days, colors just don't work. Nothing really pops. And when bold color isn't available, one of the best creative choices you can make is to strip color away entirely. Black and white simplifies your frame. It removes the noise and makes you and your viewer focus on light, shape, and emotion. Cloudy days are great for black and white. The soft diffuse light creates gentle gradients and subtle shadows, giving your images a quiet mood. A simple scene can take on a deeper emotional weight in monochrome. And black and white photos have a timeless, classic look to their photos as well. That being said, black and white isn't a cheat code. It's not a fix for photos that didn't work in color. If the composition is weak or the moment is missing, removing color won't save it. In fact, in some ways, black and white is less forgiving, because once you take color away, you're left with just the essentials. So use black and white intentionally. Not to cover up flaws, but to reveal something deeper. Mood, composition, and feeling that color might have overshadowed. Next, the best possible scenario. There is one kind of overcast day that is actually the best conditions to shoot photos, and that is rain. In rainy weather, we get umbrellas and reflections all over the pavement. Some people might visibly try to avoid getting wet, which can be used as a story in your frame. Rain makes the streets really come alive. There are many more interesting subjects and moments. It enhances the mood and gives us elements that can replace dramatic light. Plus, because people are tunnel visioned in the rain and also have their sight partially blocked by their umbrellas, it is much easier to anticipate moments and set up your shot. So the next time it rains, treat it like you would a sunny day, and see it as the best opportunity to go out with your camera. Lastly, some editing tips. When I'm editing photos from a cloudy day, I usually take a subtle approach, but a few tweaks can really bring out the image. If the photo I'm editing has a lighter mood, one of the first things I'll do is slightly raise the exposure or bump up the highlights, especially if I'm going for a clean look. If the sky is not adding anything, no dramatic clouds or texture, I am not afraid to let it go completely white. Just enough to simplify the frame. A bright, featureless sky can actually be a strength. It adds negative space, gives the subject more breathing room, and brings a calm feel to the photo. That clean backdrop removes distraction. I will also slightly increase the saturation, not to make the colors punchy or loud, but just enough to make them feel more intentional. If it is not a color of my main subject, I might dial those down. Cloudy days tend to mute out everything, so a small boost can keep the image from feeling washed out or dull. Same with contrast. A slight touch goes a long way. Just enough to give the image depth and definition while preserving the softness of the natural light. You do not want to lose that quiet atmosphere by overprocessing. But here's where things get tricky. Every photo is different in the 5-day carry. If I feel that the photo I am editing can benefit from a gloomy mood, I do the total opposite. I decide to make my photos a bit darker and bring down the highlights so I can see that moody texture of the clouds, and slightly bring down the saturation. Ultimately, none of these edits are about changing the image into something it's not. It's about slightly enhancing what is already there. So there you have it. Overcast days do present some challenges, but there are always ways to work around them to make your photos work. So next time the sky is gray, don't put your camera away. Grab it, hit the streets, and try the tips I shared with you. So what's your favorite way to shoot on cloudy days? Drop it in the comments. And if you found this helpful, then please like and subscribe to my channel because it keeps me going. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.